Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. John Emery Jr. has decided to come back to LSU. I'll be pretty candid. I didn't even know John Emery Jr. had college eligibility left. Now, we understand his case has been an interesting one because he missed a year with academic things, and we had the pandemic, and that year didn't count, and he's still included in all that. So I can't claim that I know even all the rules.
Well, remember he entered the transfer portal.
Right. And I knew that.
So obviously he still had eligibility.
Right. When he entered the transfer portal, at that point, I did not know he had eligibility.
Right.
Once he did that, I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But I don't know how to count those years at this point.
It's confusing.
We got to get to 2030, and then I'll feel like I know how many years of eligibility everyone has. But until we get there, I won't be able to know. But John Emery, he was in the same signing class as some of these names. Marcel Brooks, Maurice Hampton was in that class. He was in the same class as Trey Palmer. Some of these guys didn't even make it to campus, it seems like. Same class as Cade York. I mean, he's been at LSU for a very, very long time. Of course, he was in the same class as Derek Stingley as well, that 2019 class that were true freshmen on the national championship team. But he's decided he's going to come back, and this is a guy who has played in 37 games at LSU. He's had 213 career carries. He's run for 1,000 yards, scored 14 touchdowns. And he will return. And I'll be pretty honest with you. I think this is a good thing for LSU. I don't know what type of player he'll be. The last thing we saw from John Emery was him tearing his ACL, and it was a nasty-looking no-contact injury, and I kind of figured that would end his career. But it hasn't, and he's going to come back, and he's going to play. If he can be the same guy that he's been since 2019, I think that helps. Because you're in a situation at running back right now where you're a little thin on numbers. We don't know what Trey Holly's status is going to be. You've got Josh Williams, obviously. You feel really good about Caleb Jackson. And then you bring in Caden Durham, who's a big talent, but that's not a lot of guys. I mean, we've seen LSU teams cycle through 4 backs in a year, no problem. Go back to the Jacob Hester, Charles Scott, Keelan Williams, Trendon Holiday teams. And it's been more often that's been the case than Clyde Edwards-Helaire taking 96% of the snaps or whatever it was. Usually you cycle through, and running backs get banged up. A lot of times have to miss some time. And if you were going to go into a season with basically just Josh Williams, Caleb Jackson, and freshman Caden Durham, that's not enough. And again, I'm not going to get into the legal discussion of what Trey Holly's future holds, but I'm comfortable saying it's not certain. So if you can't for sure count on him, well, I'd like some bodies. And I kind of figured LSU would go into the transfer portal and find a running back. I feel like finding a 6'1", 223-pound guy that runs fast is pretty doable in the transfer portal. I mean, the SEC's leading rusher last year came from D2, Garrett Schrader at Missouri. So I feel like LSU needed to add. And if John Emery is healthy and is the guy that he's been, he can help. John Emery never became the best running back in the country, and that's what he was coming out of high school. He was the number 1 back in the nation. And you remember the recruiting story where he was committed to Georgia, and then Georgia came here, incredible day game atmosphere inside Tiger Stadium. LSU wins that game. John Emery ends up flipping, and he's the number 1 running back in the country, and you sign him. And if you are holding him to that standard, being the number 1 player in the country, then no, he hasn't been that. He has been, fairly productive as a rotational piece as a running back. The biggest moment he had certainly was back in 2022 when he scored the big touchdown on the swing pass against Alabama. Also had a big run against Alabama in the COVID year. And I thought he looked pretty good as a freshman. He played in 10 games that year, scored 4 touchdowns. But no, he hasn't never been the primary back. And I'm not asking him to be the primary back because Josh Williams is a capable guy, and I think that you potentially, in Caleb Jackson, may have an all-SEC type back. I think he's got that kind of ability. He's got to know where to go. He's got to know where to be. But in terms of size, speed, strength, all that, Caleb Jackson's got it in spades. And I'm really excited about the future of Caden Durham and his home run hitting ability, the speed. He's just got a lot that you would really like. But if John Emery is your fourth back, That's a good place to be in. And I don't feel like you're in a bad spot with numbers there. You start the season probably with Williams getting the majority of the carries. Hopefully Caleb Jackson moves into that role. You get Caden Durham's feet wet in a couple of games early and see if you can't get him in some space and let him use that speed. And you've got John Emery if there's some sort of an injury situation. That works. What I can't know as I sit here today in June is how John Emery is recovering from a knee injury. You feel pretty good about where we are with modern medicine and that somebody's going to be able to fix him up and he'll be good to go. But he's had some injuries in his career. He's had some time where he missed football time for other reasons. But I think this is a good thing for LSU. And I've said this a lot. Like, I think LSU is going to lean on the running game some, and they need to. And they need to be better up front than they were last year in the run game. Pass game, they blocked fine. Everything looked good. In the run game, got to be better. And the best way to help out a new starting quarterback, the best way to help out a defense that we think may have some issues is shorten the game and hand the ball off and run it. And if you're going to lean on that a little bit more and be a more quote-unquote traditional running game than you were last year where the quarterback did a lot of it, you're probably going to need some depth there. And John Emery certainly gives you that. And whether or not Trey Holly comes back, if he does, that's even better. And this will be Emery's last go. This will be Josh Williams' last go. And then you'll turn over the reins to the next group, which is going to include, obviously, Caleb Jackson, potentially Trey Holly. It's going to include Caden Durham, and then Harlan Berry comes in after that. And you feel like LSU's running back situation is pretty stable. As stable as you can feel about a position in the air of the transfer portal, because guys can just move left and right, and you really don't know what the future holds. But this is great. I'm pulling for John Emery. Obviously, the stuff that he's gone through off the field has been tough, and then you have an injury on the field, and that's tough as well. This is a guy who's got his degree, and that's something he worked really, really hard for, and I think that's awesome. And he wants one more chance to put on the purple and gold, play for the home state team, and help in any way that he can. And I believe he can help. You're talking about a guy who's run for 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns in his career. You've had less productive players than that over a span. That's in 4 seasons. Of course, missed the 2021 season. But John Emery announced he is going to come back and play for LSU. I think that's a very, very good thing. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.